Welcome to tonight's video. We'll continue with Arithmetic series, talking about first the derivation of the formula to find the sum of a finite arithmetic series. So here's the derivation, considering that a sub n is a finite arithmetic sequence. So you'd have the first term, the second term, the third term, the fourth term, all the way to the nth term, n being the last one. Since it is an arithmetic sequence, that means you have the first term, then the first term plus the difference, the first term plus 2 times the difference, the first term plus 3 times the difference, all the way till the first term plus n minus 1 times the difference. Now, that means the sum is when you add those all together. So that's the first equation that we're going to use for this derivation. Writing it in reverse, we are then going to, we would say the last term is equal to, then we'd have the last term minus the difference, then the last term minus 2 times the difference, 3 times, and so on, until you get to n minus 1 times the difference. That would be if we went backwards. So if you add those, that's going to give you equation number 2. And then adding those two equations together will give you 2 times the sum is equal to the first plus the nth term all the way down. And that's going to happen n times, depending upon what n is. And then when you divide by 2, that gives you your formula for the sum. So that's the derivation formula that you need to know for the sum of a finite arithmetic series. Now, some applications. The first one, a woodsman stacks 8k plus 15 logs in such a way that there are k layers with 8 logs in the top layer. So you have 8 logs in the top layer, and then it just keeps getting bigger like a pyramid, 1 log each time. Find the number of logs in the stack. Well, when you do these word problems, you want to define your variables. You have W equaling the number of logs in the layers, L equaling the number of layers, and N equaling the number of term for the sequence. So the first term is the first layer, which has 8 logs. The second term, which is the second layer, will have 1 more log, which will be 9. The third term, which is the third layer, will have 10 logs. Fourth term, which is the fourth layer, will have 11. And then the fifth layer has 12. And so if you notice, the general formula for this is that whatever layer it is, you add 7, and that gives you the number of logs. So to find the sum, you would take the number of layers in this term, in this case it's k, divided by 2, and then you take the first term, which has 8 logs, and then the last term, which is going to have k plus 7 logs, and then you know the sum is equal to 8k plus 15. So I'll combine like terms. Then I'll multiply by 2. So when you multiply by 2, you get 16k plus 30 equals k times 15 plus k. 16k plus 30 is equal to 15k plus k squared. And it's a quadratic, so we'll set equal to 0. So you get k squared minus k minus 30. And so it's k minus 6 and k plus 5 equals 0. So k equals 6 or negative 5. But since we're talking about layers, we can't have negative 5 layers. So therefore, there are 6 layers in this stack. And so the number of logs in the 6 layers would be 8 times 6 plus 15, which is 63. So we will say there are 63 logs in the stack. So that's the first one. So the second one, a small business that sells skincare products, has gross sales of $100,000 for the first year. The owner of the business has set a goal of increasing sales by $15,000 each year for 9 years. Assuming this goal is met, find the total sales during the first 10 years of business. So you know 100,000 is the gross sales in the first year. So our variables are GS is gross sales, Y is year, and N is the term number. So the first term is the first year, which he made 100,000. The second term is the second year, where they made 100,000 plus 15,000. In the third year, they made 100,000 plus 15,000 times 2. In the fourth year, they made 100,000 plus 15,000 times 3. And then in the fifth year, they made 100,000 plus 15,000 times 4. All right, so that means in the nth year, they would make 100,000 plus 15,000 times n minus 1. So if you want to find the sum of the 10 years, so the sum of the 10 years is equal to 10 divided by 2. The first year it's 100,000, but then the nth year or the 10th year we'd go 100,000 plus 15,000 times 9, because 10 minus 1 is 9. So it's equal to 5 times 200,000 plus 15,000 times 9 gives you so when you multiply this all out, it's going to give you 1,675,000. So you will say the gross sales in the 10 years is 1,675,000. All right, that concludes our video on arithmetic series and the applications. Hope you had a good evening.